relationship with her, and I know it's that age, and I'm really not sure how to handle it.
So we talked quite a bit about it. We went through some specific incident with it, as well as talked about all the other history with that, and that remains to be a problem. It's not like it's been solved in the last week, unfortunately, which would be great if it could, but no, so it's still going on. The second thing that I wanted to talk to you about is the questionnaires that you filled out. And there are quite a few questionnaires that you filled out, as you know, and I just wanted to talk through your results with those. The first one that I wanted to talk about is a questionnaire that looked at her behaviour and looked at the strengths and difficulties that she's experiencing. So the things that she's having, that she's doing well, and the things that she's having some difficulty with. When we look at her data compared to other children the same age, she is having more peer problems than other children. And you said that you were concerned that that this tendency to not tell the truth may be impacting on her friendships. Of what you've said, it does look like that is the case. And so it just sort of backs up the sorts of things that you were concerned about when when you first came in here. The other thing that I noticed in her data as well is that compared to other children her age, she's also showing sort of more emotional symptoms. So if you compare her to all other children her age, all other girls 14, she is a little bit more emotional. And when I say that, I mean that she tends to react more in an emotional way to things rather than sort of just accepting things the way they are. That confirms what you said about it. Does that sounding right to you?
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah, okay, all right. The next thing that I wanted to look at is the sort of way you parent and your parenting style. And when I look at your data, I did notice that you do tend to be a little bit almost, she knows how to push your buttons, and when she does, you do have a tendency to kind of overreact to the situation, and that may be because of the history. That you're very used to this happening, and so you go to a point of reacting more than, say, you would if you had no history with her and it was a fresh thing. But does that sound right, that you are being a little bit sort of more reactive than, say, you would be to a perfect stranger?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I know she knows exactly what to say to stir me up.
Yeah.
And she does it well.
Yeah.
And I react.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know I shouldn't be as I'm reacting.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm thinking I shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
But sometimes I turn it into a competition.
Yeah.
As if it's me versus her.
Yeah.
And that's I don't know how to get out of that.
Yeah, it's producing a very difficult relationship. Yes. So the next thing I'd like to look at is the monitoring data that you filled out. And first of all, that's great. That shows great commitment that you've done that. So, because, it's hard to remember to tick a sheet every day and tick it a couple. But can you just give me some information about what you observed about her lying behaviour this week?
Well, this mainly occurred in the afternoon. Morning was up and running and we got going, and you'd come home and this sort of like, how was your day? What happened? What's happening next? And I continually found that she wouldn't come through with anything. It was stop, start, short answered, and then I would go, well, what does that mean? What does that mean? And I said, I was just wondering whether she was telling me the truth. Some of those crosses there I know were definitely wrong, but there's a couple there I'm predicting are wrong. And I haven't really been able to check them out, and that's my worry.
So even if this wasn't actual incidents of lying, there's a sense of doubt in what she's saying, or that she's not being very open with what she's saying. So if it's the truth or it's not the truth, she's not having very open communication with you at these points, and it's occurred
yes/no answers,
up to 4 times.
And she doesn't want to talk about it.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that once she doesn't want to talk about it, there's something there.
Okay, all right. And did this sort of surprise you that it was occurring as
common?
Often?
It does. I didn't until you're not actually. Oh, that happened. Even around the dinner table, what are you doing? And it was yes/no answers. I'm going, oh, I should write that down. Whereas before I would dismiss that.
I mean, look, it does paint a tricky picture to begin with, but I suppose it at least confirms that your suspicions about this impacting on your relationship and that sort of thing are definitely confirmed with this monitoring sheet. So that's the monitoring, that's the third thing that I wanted to look at. The last thing I wanted to talk about is the observation of the session we had last week, where you sat down with her and talked about this issue. I did observe as you had that conversation that it got to a sort of, it went from 0 to 10 very quickly, didn't it? I mean, you sort of approached it in such a sort of hesitant way, but it seemed to blow up quite quickly when you asked her about her issues with lying. And she did eventually acknowledge that she doesn't, what were her words, that she doesn't exactly tell the truth. But
a need to know basis.
But she did seem to get very emotional very quickly with it, even though you were trying your best not to make it too critical of her, or that you were really trying to have a genuine conversation. It seemed when she got quite emotional, that distressed you quite a great deal, and you got a little bit sort of, say, different in the way that you were talking to her than the time before, and a little bit more upset. The thing that, so does that sound right? Does that what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's perfect.
The thing that I found interesting as well, and you talked about this later, is that she seemed to blame you at the end of it for not telling the truth, and sort of saying to you, well, I only do this because you keep asking me questions and you've got no right to ask me questions, and other kids' parents leave them alone, and that sort of thing. I mean, that seemed to be quite a strong message that she was giving you. Have I got that right?
Yeah, I don't like that. That's what gets to me.
So, to sum up what I've said about the sort of 4 things that we've looked at today, it appears that you have come in here concerned about your daughter's tendency to lie or to not tell the complete truth, or not be completely honest or open with you at times, that this has been going on for some time. When we look at her questionnaires compared to other children her age, this is an issue that's greater than what we would expect in that age. It's somewhat typical for girls of her age to be a little bit cagey about the truth.
Trying to work that out. How much is normal?
Yeah, but we would definitely consider her to be in a category above what's normal. And we'd say, in terms of sort of severity of the issue, we'd put her in the moderate range of, meaning that it's a good thing that you've come along here today to talk about that, and to talk about the issues. The monitoring has shown that this is definitely a problem. It's not certainly all in your head, and also the observation, even when you tried to have a conversation with her about the issue and solving it just went back into its old patterns.
Straight back.
Okay. So, having summarised all of that data, it does. If I can sort of see it, if we see it from her point of view, she's at that age, 14 years old, where she's trying to, become an adult and become more independent from you. But the thing is that she's almost pushing too far that way too early, and it means that there's a real breakdown in communication with you. Does that sound fine? You ready to give it a go?
I feel as if I stayed calmer, something could happen more positively.
So indeed, giving you more strategies to cope sounds like a really great positive step. Okay, fantastic.
There are 5 key aspects to Triple P positive parenting that are important for families everywhere. Having a safe and interesting environment. Having a positive learning environment. Using assertive discipline. Setting realistic expectations and limits. And taking care of yourself as a parent.
The first of these 5 key aspects of Triple P is to ensure teenagers are growing up in a safe but interesting environment.
As children grow older, they need to learn how to take on more responsibility around the home. such as safely operating gas and electrical appliances, knowing how to use fire extinguishers and how to give basic first aid, being competent when using sharp or dangerous equipment, and becoming familiar with car maintenance. These are all important skills teenagers need to be taught.
He cooks sausages, so he does use the stove and obviously to boil milk and hot water. And he's quite sensible in the kitchen.
We do have a chart that basically has household chores on, and the children just get up and do those most of the time, which is obviously giving them the ability to do household chores for when they leave home.
I try to teach him that, for example, he helps me when I'm cooking, explain him how to do all these things so that he's independent.
Teenagers should also be encouraged to take part in organised, meaningful activities at school and elsewhere with appropriate adult supervision.
The second aspect of positive parenting involves having a positive learning environment. One way to do this is to encourage teenagers to take part in family decision-making.
Lewis and his brothers and myself were either in the dining room, sitting around the dining table, or in the sitting room, just relaxing on the settees, and we discuss a variety of issues.
Since we've gone to the PP classes, we've been having a family meeting, and which has been very good. She hasn't wanted to do it very long, but while she's done it, it's been good because she's opened up with things, and she's told me her point of view about things, and we've mentioned our point of view, and that's really helped a lot, that has.
We include Jaden in family decisions by giving options. We usually take a vote. We say, okay, who wants to do this, who doesn't want to do this, and usually the majority will rule.
She gives her opinion. She's pretty opinionated, but I guess teenagers are like that. But we try to include her whenever we can.
Okay, children, what shall we have for tea tonight? What do you fancy?
Curry.
A curry?
Would you pizza?
You want a pizza?
I love pizza.
You sure?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
The decision-making doesn't always have to be about major issues. You can start with something simple, like deciding on a family meal.
Okay, would you like to go and get the menu?
Yeah.
Encouraging teenagers to help make family decisions gives the message they are valued members of the family and their opinions and ideas are important.
Charlotte, would you like to go and ring them?
Yeah.
The telephone number's there, okay?
This way they grow up feeling valued and learn how to plan ahead and make good choices.
Isn't this a little bit too dark?
No.
For the walls? No?
Like, this is too dark, but that...
Older children and teenagers need to feel included as they begin to take on more adult roles and responsibilities.
Op de muur.
Dit op de muur. Ja.
The best way to promote this is by gradually encouraging them to have more say in family discussions and decisions. Teenagers who regularly take part in family discussions are more likely to become skilled at making good personal decisions themselves.
Parents will usually have the final word on most issues, but getting your teenager to speak up about their views and opinions is important.
Well, the way we try and get them to make their own decisions is if we're having a discussion, we'll try and get their input first and see if they have an idea of what they should do before we actually tell them.
Another way to promote a positive learning environment is to show an interest in what they're doing.
Hi, Lewis. What are you doing?
Oh, German homework.
Okay.
You don't have to be an expert, you just have to show you're interested.
Oh, well, since it's in German, I can't really help you out, but yeah, well done. Okay, well done for that.
We should also be willing to offer help when we notice them struggling with something. This means looking for opportunities to suggest a better way of doing things, but not taking over and doing it for them.
Your approval and advice are still important, even as your children mature into the teenage years.
Bruno, that shirt looks good on you.
How did you think sports day went at your school?
It was good because I came first place for the 400-meter sprint.
Yes, and I saw you run, and I was so proud of you. You was running so fast.
If we do it the right way, approval from parents will help strengthen the relationship with teenagers at a time when they're being influenced more and more by others outside the family.
Being positive and encouraging also involves tuning into your teenager's desirable behaviour. When you notice something happening that you like, pay attention to it. Show your teenager you value what they're doing and they'll do it more often.
Hey, thanks for taking care of the dishes. Thanks.
When Kathy does something what I like, even if it's only very small, I've started praising her a lot more. And she started responding by giving me hugs now and again. So I think the praising is, very important.
If he woke up on time and got himself ready for school on time without me checking him every 10 minutes, I'd say, well done, Lewis, for getting up on time and getting yourself ready for school.
It's easy. I usually just give him a high five. Either a high five or a dab. It's like a pound, fist pound. And that usually does it for him.
We're always trying to praise them that they're doing a great job, how, they're working hard pays off, and we're always trying to encourage them, right?
Mm-hmm. The third aspect of positive parenting involves using assertive discipline. This means being decisive, responding quickly when your teenager is doing something you don't like, and dealing with it in an appropriate and consistent way.
Lewis, what did you do to LaShawn?
I hit him.
What did you hit him for?
Because he tried to get the remote.
So you thought you should hit him? Leave the room, please, and go upstairs and stay in your bedroom until you calm down.
As children grow into teenagers, it's important to involve them in negotiating what the rules and responsibilities will be, what extra privileges they can expect to enjoy in return for cooperating, and the consequences for not cooperating.
I'm trying my best to not dictate to the children as such, you can and can't do this and that, but to try and encourage them to find their own way and maybe to help them to not do what their friends are doing and try and show them that it's easy to start something, but it's not quite as easy to stop.
This often involves compromise, trying out new arrangements and making changes when required.
Discussing what behaviour is expected, as well as the consequences for unacceptable behaviour, can reduce conflict by helping everyone to stay calm.
The fourth aspect of positive parenting involves having realistic expectations. No two teenagers are the same, and they'll develop new skills and abilities at their own individual rate. Parents need to adjust their expectations and set limits to match.
It's mainly them discovering their way and messing up and learning from their own mistakes. And as a parent, it's just steering them in the right direction, telling them right from wrong, and then just keeping composure when they do mess up.
There are some rules which I expect from Seydou. For example, I want him to clean his own room. I want him to prepare his own breakfast. And when school is finished, I just want him to come home and not hang around in town.
Parents' expectations depend a lot on what they consider appropriate for different ages. The onset of puberty will affect teenagers in different ways, and peer pressure may become a major issue.
Hello? Hi, Annabelle. I'm alright, thanks. Yeah, okay. Your parents are out. Cool. Yeah, I'll be over by 10. Okay, bye. Bye.
Parents need to be realistic about the risks that come with their teenagers' demands for increased freedom. They also need to talk to other parents to find out how they're handling the same problems.
Who was that on the phone, Kath?
My friend Annabelle.
What does she want?
I'm going round his about 10 o'clock.
What for?
It's like a sleepover.
Are the parents there?
No.
Well, how many are going to be there?
I don't know.
Oh, well, I think there should be some parents there if you're having a sleepover, because such a lot of things could go wrong. So I think it would be best if I just checked with Annabelle's mum.
Why?
Because I need to, for your safety, OK?
No, fine.
Having realistic expectations includes setting appropriate limits and being confident about where they are, who they're with, and what they're doing.
Listen, make sure you're back before it's dark. Yeah. If you're going anywhere else other than the park, come and tell me, let me know where you're going.
Yeah, we'll come back when we're finished. Yeah.
No later than 8 o'clock.
Yeah. We'll come back at 7.
Let me know if anything changes.
I set ground rules. He has a particular time he's supposed to be in. He knows if he goes too far, he has to tell us where he's going to be at.
Before Sadie was going out, we make agreements, and he sticks on these agreements. Sometimes he calls me. If I tell him you have to be home like this and this time, he also do these things.
Parents also need to have realistic expectations of themselves. It's fine to want to be a good parent, but to aim to be a perfect parent is likely to lead to disappointment, frustration, and lots of hassles with your teenagers. So be realistic. Every parent makes mistakes, most mistakes are minor, and parents have to learn as they go.
Yeah, I think mistakes we made with Kathy in the past was when she was smaller, and obviously with her being a grandchild, I think we spoiled her a lot.
I was in the military for a while. I tried to raise him like a drill instructor, which I later found out is the absolute worst thing you can do. Okay.
The final aspect of positive parenting is taking care of yourself. Parenting is much easier when our own needs as adults are being met.
The only time that we have to ourselves really is when Kathy's at school and my husband and I'll go out for lunch. She does go to foster carers once a month to give us a break, so we do something then.
When Lewis goes out, that's when I find time. So if he goes out from 1 hour to 2 hours, 3 hours, that's my time to just chill out. So I can either watch the television, watch my own favourite programme, so we're not fighting with the remote, or just peace and quiet in the home, really.
Finding time for yourself is really difficult, but you have to. Just having half an hour to yourself at some point in the day is important, because you're still a person at the end of the day, you're not just a mum.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of time for each other, and whether you got to cook dinner, or even if you buy dinner and then if there's homework, you got to put them to bed, and by the time there's many times that we plan, it's like once the kids are in bed, and then we fall asleep.
Yes,
It's like we're out.
We have needs for intimacy, for friendship, for privacy, and for a break from children. If these needs are not being met, it's much more difficult to be patient, to be consistent, and to be available to our teenagers.
Looking back over part 1, we've just seen the 5 main aspects of Triple P positive parenting. Having a safe and interesting environment, having a positive learning environment, using assertive discipline, setting realistic expectations and limits, and taking care of yourself as a parent. In the next section, we'll look at some of the factors influencing teenagers' behaviour, why they behave the way they do.
Now that we've looked at what influences teenagers, let's turn to what we can do to promote behaviours we like.
We look first at how to develop and maintain a positive relationship with our teenagers and how to increase desirable behaviours that we see occasionally. There are also tips on how to help teenagers learn new skills and behaviours.
The first thing we can look at is how to develop and maintain a positive relationship with your teenager.
It takes time to develop and maintain a positive, caring relationship. Look for frequent opportunities to spend a few minutes together when there's no pressure to get things done.
Lewis and I, we both enjoy going to the cinemas.
Sometimes we go play basketball at the beach, and then we just jump in the water. Or we'll play video games or board games, things like that.
We watch TV a lot together.
We love to watch.
We're addicted to certain shows, and that the whole family watches, you know. And and a lot of the shows were brought to us by by Lauren, our teenager. You know, she was like.
Sometimes, while you're spending time together, there'll be an opportunity to talk. Perhaps start with something about yourself, something that happened today, for instance. Then ask about something you know they're interested in or they've been doing.
So I'm going to the monster trucks this Arby.
And what time does it start?
It starts at 5.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh,
Did you want to come?
I told Dylan and Talisha that I would go see them tonight. I promised them about a week ago.
Be prepared to talk for longer if they start to talk about any issues or concerns. Don't push them into it. Let it happen at their pace.
All right. Well, that's good. At least you definitely know what you want to do.
And since I've been doing Triple P, I've been taking part in a music and a computer. Not that I particularly like it, but I've been taking interest. And she'll come into my bedroom now. Have you got time, Nan? Will you sit with me for half an hour? Whereas I say, yeah, just give me a minute. I'm doing something, then I'll come to you. Whereas we didn't do that before.
Creating opportunities for your teenager to talk to you keeps the communication channels open and helps you both find out what the other is doing. It's important to show teenagers that you're interested in them and you care about them.
With teenagers, show warmth and affection more along adult lines.
And don't worry, son. I think everything's going to work out. I think it's going to be okay. It's going to be fine. All right.
And never stop giving them a hug. Obviously, if there are other children around, you have to be very careful when you select to give them a love and a kiss. But I think sometimes you have to be a little bit sensitive. If they're having an off day, perhaps in front of their friends isn't the right time to do that.
He just actually has to hear me humble myself and just put down all the barriers that my dad had when he was raising me, and just actually hear me say, "Son, I love you," and just grab him, give me a hug.
I'm very affectionate as a man, and sometimes, as with not the son so much, with the daughter, as she gets older, I gotta show affection, but I don't want to cross any kind of sexual lines. You know what I'm saying? So whereas I want to show affection, but I don't want it to be misconstrued more than anything by other people.
Teenagers need to learn how to give and receive affection as they grow into adults, and parents can set them a good example. Sometimes there are opportunities for friendly teasing and having a laugh together. These can be good ways for parents to show affection.
One important way of increasing desirable behaviour that you only see occasionally is to show your appreciation each time you see your teenager doing it.
Good job, Bruno. Thanks.
This makes it more likely they'll do it again.
Hey, Akira, you got some fluff on your face. Maybe you might have to shave it off before you go to school.
Just like younger children, teenagers respond well to praise if it's done with care.
Well done, son. I'm really proud of you for ignoring your brother's teasing.
Giving praise or approval works best when you're clear and specific and describe exactly what your teenager did that you like. Be enthusiastic and sincere. Mean what you say.
We praise the boys when they do something well because it shows them to do it again in the future, and it makes them feel good about doing it. Everybody likes a little praise.
There are many ways of giving attention to teenagers that won't embarrass them. A smile, a wave, or just a nod of the head. These can be ways to increase desirable behaviour.
Well, she isn't a person that likes to be touched very much. She isn't. But lately she started putting her arms around me, which is unusual. So, and I think we feel closer to one another now, and probably more loving to one another, because before it was that much shouting going on. I think we were beginning to hate one another. It was like this, and you find it very difficult to find a part for praise, and she'd be shouting all day long, but she doesn't seem to raise the voice as much now. No, it's it's amazing, really. It's been a different household in this last few weeks. It really has.
Encourage teenagers to try out new and different activities. This may mean offering to help, supervise, organise, transport or attend fundraising functions.
One of the most important things about being a parent is if something is important to your child, you need to make it important to yourself. As in, if they're really interested in a sport that you don't like, you don't have to like the sport, but it has to be important to you. You have to get them there on time, and you have to encourage them just like if it was something that you like.
We do lots of things together. We've got a big allotment. The main reason I got that was so that the children could have the freedom where they were safe to go and play. They've got their own play area around there.
We go hiking every now and then.
I will take them to the pool.
Resist demands by teenagers for the newest and the best equipment when they're just trying out something.
Oh, you think you get me that one?
No, it's too expensive, son. Maybe we could get one online. Or second-hand one.
Active and engaged teenagers are much less likely to get into trouble. Many activities can be located using internet searches. Or try the local library, radio station or community newspaper.
Do you want to do any racket sports? Do you want me to book any racket courts for these holidays? Any of yours?
Yeah.
Maybe tennis. Yeah, some tennis. Not table tennis?
No, tennis.
Okay. That'll be fine. I'll give the gym a ring.
Laser tagging starts on Thursday.
Well, perhaps we'll do it Thursday then, not Wednesday, if it's starting on Thursday.
You may have to help them make contact or even go with them until they're more confident. You may even become interested in the activity yourself.
You know, see, he's into dirt biking. I'm beginning to get into the mechanics of putting the parts together. So I like doing that with him. He knows a lot about it. He shows me actually a few things.
Now that we've seen how we might increase behaviours our teenagers can already do, we need ways to help teach new skills and behaviours.
As parents, we've learned many skills that we can pass on to our teenage children to help them become independent young adults. One good way to do this is to prompt them to watch you doing something and then get them to copy you. Praise and encourage them until they master the new skill.
Very good. But be gentle, no? If you press it too hard, then it's gonna be harder for you to peel it. And be careful with your fingers. Yeah, you're doing a good job.
Where a task is longer and more complicated, guide them through in a series of steps.
OK, Tyler, show me what I've just shown you, how to switch off the washing machine and take the washing out, please. The door did open then, yeah? Can you remember what happens if the red light's flashing and the door doesn't open?
Wait for 30 seconds.
Teenagers will copy other things parents do, and that includes things you'd rather they didn't copy.
I think the most important things about being a parent is that you have to actually do what you say is right. You have to set an example. If you're doing one thing and then you tell the child you need to do the opposite, he's going to look at it like, why? You're not doing it.
Another powerful way to help your teenagers learn new skills is to coach them in problem solving. This involves waiting until they're struggling with a problem or wanting you to solve it for them.
So what's the problem?
My dirt bike, it's not starting up, and my Kickstarter's broken.
Even if you know the answer, see if your teenager can come up with an idea of their own before you suggest it, so they learn for themselves.
What's wrong with your Kickstarter, son?
Strip.
Strip? Oh, man. Strip. How hard is it going to be to replace it?
I don't know. I have to get a drill and take the screw off because it's complicated. It's like stripped.
Prompt them to think about how they might solve the problem, then guide them towards a solution.
We're going to have to replace that.
I'm just going to have to get the parts.
Just get the parts for it? Okay. Well, let's see. We're going to have to look in the yellow pages. Computer's up, so we can just go online and we just do a quick search for used
dirt bike parts, and then we'll just go pick one up.
Alright.
And of course, praise them for their efforts. With more complex problems, you may need to go through the following steps together. First, clarify the goal. This means helping your teenager work out what the outcome would be if the problem was solved.
There's this concert coming up, and I don't have any money. It's like $80 for a ticket.
Transportation?
For like $100.
Okay. All right, so how much is it going to be exactly?
For like $100.
Okay.
The next step is to list some possible solutions. Get your teenager to suggest as many ways to solve the problem as they can think of. Encourage them to be as creative as possible.
Okay, well, let's look at our options of how we're going to raise that money, or how you're going to raise that money.
I could get a job.
Yeah? And anything else?
I could borrow the money.
Sure. Can you think of anything else? Any other way that you might be an option?
Maybe I could sell something. I don't really know what I could sell.
Okay, all right. Well, there are 3 really good options, Ashley.
Don't do all the work yourself. Your job is to ask the right questions to help your teenager think about different ways they might solve the problem. If they're really stuck, you can make a suggestion or 2, but keep prompting them to work through the steps with you.
So let's try and have a look at those options one at a time and see what's going to fit best.
Alright, so getting a job. I don't think anyone's hiring in the next 2 weeks, so there's borrowing money. I don't think anyone has $100 that they want to lend me.
Well, I certainly can't. You know, I can't afford it.
Yeah.
And what about option number 3?
I could sell something. I know Maggie likes that jacket, so I could sell that to her. I don't really wear it, so I could sell that.
The third step is to have your teenager consider the likely consequences for each solution. What are the chances it would solve the problem? Or would it create another problem? Or maybe even make things worse?
Okay, so all those options that we have, let's give them a rating to see how they're going to go for you. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best option. So let's go through them all again and see what's going to suit you the best.
Alright.
So option 1?
So getting a job, probably a 1. I don't think that's very likely. Number 2, well, that was borrowing money. I don't think anyone's gonna want to lend me $100, so probably a 1. I know Maggie likes that jacket, so I could sell that to her. So I'd probably be around a 6.
Okay.
Could work.
All right, so that could work for you?
Yeah.
Well, that was a good way of seeing what's going to be working best for you. Okay.
Encourage them to select the solution that has the best rating.
So Ashley, after talking about all the options, what have you decided?
Well, it looks like selling my jacket's the best option.
Encourage them to try out the solution they selected to see if it works.
Maybe I should go give Maggie a call right now and see if she's still interested.
Look, I think that's a great idea. Let me know how it goes.
All right, thanks, Mum.
Okay.
Later on, review the solution. Ask them how well it worked. If it didn't work out, you may need to help your teenager revise it and try again. When a behaviour does not occur as often as we might like, a little extra motivation may be required until it is occurring more frequently. Behaviour contracts can be very effective here.
A behaviour contract allows your teenager to earn privileges in return for improvements in desired behaviours. Your teenager should be involved in setting up the behaviour contract, even though they may not fully agree with the end result.
Kathy, the reason I've asked you to sit down and talk to me for a little while is I won't keep you too long. You know we're having problems about you coming off your computer.
Yeah.
And you're going to bed really late and you're getting tired. And you get nazzy in the morning because it's late. Well, I think you ought to be able to come off it a little bit earlier. So what to suggest that we do this behaviour contract, that we both sign a contract, right? And I want you to come off your computer at 10:15. What do you think about that? The behaviour contract was to do with the computer. She'd be on it. So I'd say, I want you off at 10:30. 10:30 had come, 25 to 11 had come, 11 o'clock had come, and then they'd be shouting. And then she'd call me names and that. So I said to her, we're doing a contract. She says, how ridiculous is that? It's like school, she says to me. I says, well, it's like school or not, we're doing a contract. And this contract is between me and you.
Here are some guidelines for setting up a workable behaviour contract to encourage appropriate behaviour. Clearly describe the behaviour and state it positively, such as wash the dishes after tea every school day evening. Agree on an appropriate reward or privilege that'll be earned for improvements in the required behaviour.
This might be something your teenager wants more of, such as extra phone credit or computer time, or it might be something that they've been getting until now without having to earn it.
Because I've attended the Triple P Positive Parenting Programme, the teen programme, I have used the behaviour contract for 3 of my sons, and I found that worked because even though I drew up the words, I sat with each boy separately, not as the whole family, and I said, well, what treat would you like? So they had to go away and think about the goals that they wanted to set for themselves. So I wasn't going to set it, so, you know, that might make them fail.
The next step is to agree how much reward or extra privilege will be earned for specified improvements in the required behaviour.
And